Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever and wherever you are joining from today, I want to first welcome and thank you for deciding to create with us. In the next 24 minutes, we are going to use this time to make something and let our creativity flow. We're going to begin by breathing in and out. In and out. In and out. While we may realistically not be able to leave our troubles and worries at the door, it's important that we set our intentions for this moment and begin the lesson with an open mind. As the title of this project states, we are going to be creating individual maps representing the spaces we interact within the most and the pathways that connect these locations. I want you to keep this in the back of your mind while we are thinking about the rest of the lesson. I should also mention that my name is Miss Emmerson. Although I am not there in front of you like a teacher would be or an instructor, imagine me as your co-pilot, creating with you and presenting this idea together. Before we get started, let's check in on the space around us. Ask yourself, do I have space in front of me to work? And give yourself a moment to grab a pencil, paper, and eraser if available. This will be all you will need for today's lesson. Before we begin our demo, I want to talk about the subject matter of what our lesson is going to be about. So far, we know it is going to involve locations and pathways that connect. We can think about this as ethnographic cartography, or map making. We mindlessly interact with these maps every single day. There's a map that connects our bedrooms to where we eat. There's a map that connects the house we used to live in to our school we used to go to. Maps are how we navigate this world, whether physically, in the space around us, or in our memories, in the places we used to know. So let's do some investigation. Just like scientists experiment with equations and formulas, it's important we do our research before we dive into making anything. So far, we've established that maps play a role in our everyday lives. But who creates these maps, and what do they look like? Your first thought probably looked similar to the first images I showed, right? But what about technology? What about the apps which draw a line for you from one place to another? And what about that feeling you get when you don't even have to pay attention walking from your bed to the bathroom? Is that a type of map too? I'm not looking for any answers here. There's no right or wrong, just a thought to get you started. give you a bit of context, this is going to be a time-lapsed demonstration. Here you will see how I interpret the project, and this should give you a visual explanation of what we have been discussing so far and what I will be giving you instruction on. But remember, and I will say this again, that your final project can and very well should look different. If the visual is too overwhelming and it's moving too quickly, pay attention to what I am saying for instruction. Beginning this project, I want you to again think about what we have discussed so far. We are talking about map making, taking ideas from our previous understandings and bringing up prompting questions to get us started. Now let's see how we can visualize this. It's okay if it sounds a little overwhelming at first. Sometimes we have so many ideas, it's hard to express these. And remember that since this video will be replayed, it's perfectly fine to try one idea and another a different day. But try to stay with me here. First, I want you to think of 2 destinations you want to map. Starting with 2 gives you 1 point to connect to another. You can give each place a symbol, like a shape, or we can use the names here too. Once you have 2, the rest will follow, the same way. And here is where you can add variation. I give you permission to be as realistic or abstract as you like. The 2 points we were discussing before need to connect. By deciding how near or far they are from one another, we are creating a scale. And by drawing a line from one to the other, we are creating a path. After we have our first 2 points connected, we can repeat that process using 2 different locations and 2 different positions on our paper. As you continue, I want you to keep thinking about the spaces on your map. Was it difficult to try to remember their paths? Was it what is invented or discovered along the way? Do any of our maps have real or imagined overlappings? to wrap up your piece, you should end up with something completely different than this, which I only say because each map you create, today or tomorrow, abstract or realistic, each map should be unique to you. And maybe you find it comforting to create the same paths over and over again. And I encourage you to investigate that idea. Whatever you have created today is only the beginning of the possibilities for you. So as we head into today's closing activity, I want you to continue to stay in that positive and open mindset and attitude we began with. As we begin this final portion of the lesson, we are going to do a number of things. First, by reviewing the material we have covered so far, we are going to create an artist critique and review. Again, since this lesson will be on a repeated video reel, this allows us to examine our work we have created today, review the ideas we have come up with so far, and envision how we might possibly extend this project in the future. You can start this by reflecting on your piece. Take a moment to look at what you have created. Imagine for a moment that you are the viewer, or simply reflect as the artist, and ask yourself the following questions. What is my first impression of the work? What do I think prompted this? What elements did I use? What can be noticed? And finally, if you could change this artwork, how would you change it and why? Just like the questions I asked you about technology and the kinds of maps, there is also no right or wrong answer to these. There is no one interpretation of a piece, and opinions may change the longer or shorter you look at a work, the more or less someone viewing the work knows about you and its creation, and so many other variables that go into creating a piece like what we have done today. By critiquing ourselves like we just did, we are taking ownership for the work created today. We are allowing ourselves to use the feedback we have noted to influence how we grow and strengthen our creativity and work as an artist. Not only have we done that, but we are also able to pick up and recall different elements of the project itself. Here we can reflect on the investigation of the way that our lives are mapped out and how each of these locations offer another way to ask questions about how we as individuals are connected. We can think about the knowledge of the patterns that emerge in our mapping with others, the understanding that spaces have meaning on the individual and the whole scape perspective, and the deeper understanding of the aesthetic and abstract qualities map-making employs. Just like visualizing our ideas, extending our work further can also feel a bit daunting, but it doesn't have to be. By critiquing our piece and reflecting on what we have learned, we've already done half the work. Moving forward, there are other ideas that can be explored. Try abstraction, if your piece is more realistic. Try memories instead of locations. Try to rotate your piece horizontally if you've worked vertically. Whatever you decide, to do it more. Do it again, and do what you love. Finally, before I leave you for today's closing, I ask that you store this piece, whether you are able to physically keep it safe to look back on, or you mentally reflect on the work you have done before. Use this piece to reflect on with pride. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I look forward to creating with you next time. Thank you so much, fellow map makers.